I'm so good. I'm so excited to chat with you today about
Cheers.
departing seniors and a little bit about your career.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My first question is really just like why this project? What attracted you to being a part of this project? This fun
Um,
take on the slasher.
yeah, that's a good question. Historically, like horror hasn't really been my genre. I'm a little squeamish. I was in a couple horror movies back in the day, but I haven't really done a lot. And I got sent the script by my agent, who said it was sort of a sort of a slightly different take on sort of a horror slasher film that had a lot of comedy, but also some really great dramatic elements and some relationship stuff. So he's like, take a read and see if you're at all interested. So I read it and I liked it a lot. And so I ended up meeting with Claire, the director, and that just completely like almost instantly sold me on wanting to like be a part of this film and to work with her. Um, so yeah,
Cool. Well, and your character, you play an interesting character, and we won't go too far into spoilers, but you are like that supportive teacher character to our queer lead, and your character has his own background. And I was curious just about playing a character like that that's supporting, but also like supporting this main character, but also has his own kind of past. And I was just like, and especially when talking about queerness and being
yeah,
gay in today's society, what was that like for you to kind of dig into that character and like what that character is going through?
yeah, that's a really great question. And we had a lot of conversations, Claire and I and Jose,
Yeah.
talking about identity and queerness and getting bullied and these sorts of issues. And everyone in the cast actually at some point participated in these conversations and brought something of their own personal experience to the table. For me, I know growing up for a whole bunch of different reasons, I experienced a lot of bullying
Mm.
and stuff like that. I moved around a lot when I was a kid,
Okay.
like all over the world, just constantly, like every year, new school. And I
Oh
was
God.
the sort of for lots of different reasons I was sort of the odd person out, so I was really able to relate to this character and what they were kind of going through, uh, and there were other things that I could relate to as well, personal things. I just my character is supposed to see a lot of himself in Ignacio's character, and I was able to see a lot of myself in Ignacio's character and what he was going through in high school. So that really worked well. And this was my one of my first chances to like play a teacher. Like I
Yeah.
played high school a lot. I played college. I haven't really actually. I'm not sure I've ever played a teacher role before. And what was nice about that is that this teacher
Oh.
kind of considers himself to be one of the other. He wants to relate to the kids. He wants to be one of them. So that was another way in for me, to sort of think of myself as just part of this younger cast, even though I am, their teacher and slightly removed.
But it is so like I loved that like where your character sits in age though, because I feel like especially like I am in my 30s and I have friends who are teachers, and I feel like seeing that like that age of teacher who is wants to be one of them but also wants to be an authority figure, and like so much now especially it's so cool to see kind of how the film integrates that kind of discussion about younger teachers and like kind of that weird liminal space they occupy between like older teachers and students. It's so weird.
Yeah, I think growing up, I always related more to younger teachers, where
Yeah.
there's a huge divide. And of course, there is a big divide no matter what, but there were just certain teachers that you could kind of relate to,
Yeah.
um, maybe sort of remembered what it's like to be in school. And so that's definitely, what I was going for. Um, and I'm always, as an actor you work with people older than you, the same age, younger than you, and you're always trying to sort of be a part of the group. And so I just had a ball with, I mean, it's such a, have you seen the movie?
Oh yes. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The cast like that they put, like Jose and Claire put together, it's not only such a dynamic, talented, diverse group of people on screen, but all that energy you see on screen, there's all that and more off screen. like this young group of actors, like I just had so much fun working with them, and I'm so excited to see where they're going to go. I'm not just saying this, like somehow they put together these sort of like faces and people who seem kind of iconic to me, and I'm just so excited to see what they go on to do in their careers because they're to a person they're all just like they were just such great actors to work with. Yeah,
Well, the chemistry's so great. Like, a lot of the times with high school movies, it can kind of, they don't feel like teenagers, they don't feel like friends. But here, like that vibe, I love like the vibe with all of the cast is very like relatable and not forcing at teenagers in high school. It's like actually
totally.
real to high school experience, like a contemporary high school experience, which you don't see a lot. People seem to make it like way more complicated than it needs to be. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's interesting. We all clicked very early on. I think there was an
Yeah.
element, we had a very short shooting schedule. We were shooting
Oh,
during the
really?
pandemic. And we just from the get had to sort of really connect. And I think because it was the pandemic and everyone was sort of in a bit of a bubble, we weren't really in a bubble, but we were all sort of masked up and everyone was very concerned about getting COVID. So we had to take protocols and that gave it this sort of heightened sort of like lock-in feel, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
perfect.
and a lot of the cast from Chicago, so they kind of had a bit of a vibe. You just sort of end up, you know, people from other cities, and they kind of sort of either know whether they know each other or not, but the same neighborhoods or whatever. And we gelled really quickly, and just had a
Oh.
lot of fun together shooting these scenes. I actually just to like ramble off down a side road here, I got COVID like as soon as I got to Chicago, right before we started filming. So my all of my work was delayed by about 10 days. But what was good about that is it extended the length of time that I was with the production and got to be with these guys. So ultimately it was like a weird
Silver
blessing. And
linings.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then
That's
we've
so
gotten to
cool.
tour together on like during some of the film festivals, and we're coming together for a premiere that's coming up. And it's just been really great to stay connected with these cast members.
It's so cool. You talked a little bit about your slasher history, but you were in Jason X.
Was yeah.
Can you just tell me a little bit how that experience was?
Yeah.
Jason X is my favorite, by the way. I don't
Oh,
care what anyone
really?
says. I think it's so much fun. It's ridiculous, and I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my god, Jason X is on his filmography. That is incredible."
It's funny, like it does. I actually hear people saying that all the time that they like Jason X has
Yeah,
this. I feel like it's because it's one of the only sort of slasher films that's ever taken place like in space.
yeah,
Um, and there's just sort of all kinds of sort of so it's just so outrageous that it's a lot of fun.
out of this world. Hey,
There you
sorry.
go. No, I'm a big pun to me pun humor is the highest form. So
Yes, it is.
um it was great. Like that was early in my career. I loved being
Yeah.
on hand, a lot of practical special effects. Like there was one scene we did actually where I get killed. I get stabbed from behind, and then I had to like squirt this like thing of red blood onto the actor's face. Actually, I don't know if I was squirting it or someone else was squirting it. And the first take they did, the blood went just directly in the person's eyes, like nowhere else, just made a beeline right for the eyes. And the actor was legitimately worried. Like her eyes were now filled
Yeah.
with this like liquid. And I think that's the take they ended up going with just because her reaction was just so natural. So the practical effects
Wow.
are really cool. And the other thing, the small piece of trivia, probably not hugely interesting, is it's an all Canadian cast. So I think it's the
Wait,
only
really?
yes,
Wait, I love that though. That's incredible.
I believe every actor in the movie is Canadian. You can look double check me on that. Certainly most of them are. So it was really fun for a lot of people up here. Like we all, you know, like we all knew each other and it was kind of like its
Yeah.
own spin-off thing.
That's so neat. Wow,
Yeah.
what a cool experience. And that's so funny. It's like you started your career a little bit because you're also in Urban Legend Final Cut. So it's
Yeah.
like so funny that you're now coming back to the slasher, but in like a much bigger role.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't
Weird,
know.
right? There's like a weird little like full circle by accident.
Why I never did more horror films. Like I guess that just wasn't the direction I went in, and I was a
Yeah.
little wary of how they would be done. And um, you know, meeting with Claire, she just had such a great like it all like a lot of it like it wasn't like gratuitous. It was all sort of like there's like you know purpose behind this story, which
Yeah.
really appealed. But I'm down to do more horror films. I mean, they're hilarious and fun, and yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I think our time is up, but thank you so much for chatting with me about Departing Seniors and Jason X. It was so great to meet you and chat with you.
I would love meeting you, and yeah, we'll chat again.